Under the blazing Melbourne lights, the tension simmered long after the final ball was struck. Alexander Zverev, riding high on the waves of an epic victory, had more to celebrate than just another tick in the win column. The lanky German, infamous for his sharp tongue and knack for stirring the pot, didn't waste the opportunity to bask in his glory, or to toss a little salt on Novak Djokovic's freshly opened wound. Zverev strolled into the post-match press conference looking as chill as a guy who just ordered a double-shot espresso after pulling an all-nighter. But behind that relaxed demeanor, his eyes were as sharp as razors, slicing through the room as if daring someone to challenge him. The man was on a mission. "Novak's an incredible player, obviously," Zverev started, his voice dripping with that unique blend of respect and sarcasm that only a pro tennis player could master. Then, with a smirk that could have launched 1,000 memes, he added, "But being a great player doesn't make you untouchable." Boom. Mic drop. The room erupted into a frenzy of murmurs, the reporters practically salivating at the drama unfolding before them. It wasn't just a comment, it was a verbal grenade tossed straight into the court of public opinion. Zverev, ever the master of passive-aggressive digs, had just called out Djokovic's aura of invincibility, and he did it with the precision of one of his blistering backhands. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic, the so-called titan of tennis, wasn't just licking his wounds from the match. He was now faced with a new narrative, that the emperor of the court might be losing his clothes. And Zverev? The man wasn't just happy to win, he wanted to rewrite the damn script. As the night wore on, social media lit up like a Christmas tree. Clips of Zverev's smirk and his thinly veiled jabs spread like wildfire. Fans divided themselves into camps faster than you could say deuce. Some praised Zverev as a breath of fresh air, a cocky upstart with the guts to call it like it is. Others condemned him as a disrespectful brat who didn't know when to shut his trap. But here's the thing, Zverev didn't give a single damn. Not one. In fact, he seemed to thrive on the chaos. In a post-match interview with a popular sports network, Zverev doubled down. "It's not just about winning," he said, leaning casually against the backdrop. "It's about making a statement. Novak's had an amazing career, no doubt, but there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And, well, sometimes I think he forgets that." Cue the gasps. Cue the tweets. Cue the think pieces. The insinuation that Djokovic, the living legend, might have let his ego get a bit too inflated was both savage and strangely satisfying for many. After all, Novak's dominance had been as much about his mental fortitude as his physical prowess. But what happens when the unshakable gets shaken? Zverev's words hit a nerve because they echoed what a lot of people had been thinking but didn't dare say out loud. Maybe Novak had been sitting on his high horse for a little too long. Djokovic, known for his polarizing stance on everything from COVID protocols to his on-court antics, had always been a divisive figure. His relentless pursuit of greatness, while admirable, often left a trail of rubbed-the-wrong-way opponents and fans in its wake. Now, with Zverev's victory and sharp commentary, it seemed like the cracks in Novak's polished veneer were starting to show. By the end of the night, it wasn't just about the match anymore. It was about the shift in power, the reminder that even the greats could be brought down to earth. Zverev, with his devil-may-care attitude and unapologetic swagger, had done more than win a tennis match. He'd flipped the script on one of the sport's biggest icons. And damn, if he didn't look like he was having the time of his life doing it. Zverev was doing what everyone else was too chicken shit to do. He said out loud what most players only dared whisper behind closed doors. And you know what? That took guts, or maybe a big dose of "I don't give a damn." Djokovic, for his part, put on his usual poker face. In his post-match presser, he dialed up the charm and downplayed Zverev's comments like a seasoned politician dodging tough questions. "Alex played a great match," Novak said with a measured tone that screamed, "I'm too classy to clap back for now." He deserved the win. As for his comments, everyone's entitled to their opinion. "I focus on my game, my journey. That's what matters." But let's be real, inside, the guy had to be seething. Sources close to the Serbian superstar spilled the tea, claiming that Novak wasn't just pissed about losing. No. He was fuming because Zverev had done more than beat him on the court. The guy was trying to rewrite the Novak narrative, to chip away at the legacy he'd spent years building. While Novak's camp scrambled to do damage control, Zverev's team was partying like they'd just won the damn lottery. The players' lounge echoed with their laughter, their energy electric. They knew this wasn't just a big win, it was a statement. A shift in the sport's balance of power. Zverev had done more than punch his ticket to the final. He'd planted his flag in the heart of tennis's old guard, declaring, "Move over, Grandpa. It's my time now." Later that night, in a quieter moment, Zverev dropped another verbal bombshell to a journalist. "Novak's been at the top for so long," he said, flashing a grin that was equal parts cheeky and savage. "Every era has its end. I'm not saying his is over, but maybe it's time he shared the stage a little." The comment, delivered with a laugh, carried a heavy dose of "I mean every damn word of this." He wasn't just joking. Zverev was staking his claim, telling the world that Djokovic's reign wasn't as unshakable as everyone thought. The fallout from Zverev's remarks was instant and fiery. Social media blew up like a 4th of July fireworks show. Analysts on every sports channel and podcast were dissecting his words like they held the secret to the universe. Some hailed Zverev as the bold new voice tennis desperately needed, while others labeled him an arrogant little punk who didn't know his place. And Zverev? The guy leaned into the chaos like a pro. In an interview with a top sports magazine, he doubled down. "Tennis needs characters," he said, his tone unapologetic. "It needs people willing to shake things up, challenge the status quo." Novak's been amazing for the sport, no doubt, but maybe it's time for a little less predictability. Translation: the king's getting boring, and I'm here to spice things up. It was as much a jab at Djokovic as it was a critique of the sport's rigidity. Zverev wasn't just challenging Novak. He was positioning himself as the face of a new era, a disruptor who wasn't afraid to flip the script and smash the old hierarchies. And honestly, it was kind of thrilling to watch. Meanwhile, Novak was dealing with a narrative shift he hadn't seen coming. Being at the top means you're always a target, but Zverev's attack wasn't just about tennis, it was personal. And it stung. Still, Djokovic stayed as unshaken as ever. By the next morning, he was back on the practice courts, his intensity cranked up to 11. Losing? Fine. But letting a cocky upstart rewrite his story? Hell no. As the tournament marched toward its conclusion, Zverev's comments lingered like the ghost of an unforced error. They sparked debates among players, coaches, and fans, shaping a new narrative for the season. Was Zverev a breath of fresh air or just a loudmouth trying to steal the spotlight? Opinions were as split as a double fault. Some saw his confidence as a natural evolution for a rising star. Others called it a dangerous sign of disrespect for the game's traditions. Zverev didn't seem to give a flying F*******. He reveled in his role as the fearless disruptor, the guy who wasn't afraid to ruffle feathers. For him, this was about more than a semi-final win. It was about leaving a mark, proving he wasn't just a player but a force of nature ready to shake up the world of tennis. By the time the Melbourne night settled and the buzz around the park faded, the real drama was still unfolding. Not in the locker rooms, but in the heated conversations and whispered exchanges among the tight-knit tennis community. Zverev's words had turned into a storm, and everyone had an opinion. Players, coaches, commentators, even the fans in the cheap seats. Back in the lounge, Zverev soaked in the moment, his smug smile a mix of triumph and "I dare you to come at me." And honestly, love him or hate him, the guy was owning his moment. For better or worse, he wasn't just another player anymore. He was a damn game changer, and tennis was never going to be the same. Zverev had always been the type to say what everyone else was too chicken shit to admit. So when he leaned back, sipped on his sparkling water like he was lounging poolside, and quipped, "He's always so damn sure of himself," You knew he wasn't just throwing shade. He was building an entire eclipse over Djokovic. His tone dripped with equal parts amusement and exasperation. The way he acts, like he's untouchable. Someone had to remind him he's not. His team, seated around him, reacted in a mix of amusement and apprehension. One longtime confidant chuckled under his breath, clearly entertained, while another more cautious presence raised an eyebrow. "You know this is going to blow up tomorrow, right?" they warned, their voice heavy with caution. Zverev shrugged like a guy who had nothing to lose. "Let them talk," he said, oozing confidence. "This isn't just about me. It's about knocking him off that damn pedestal everyone's put him on." And that was the crux of it. Novak Djokovic wasn't just another tennis player. He was a walking myth, an aura personified. Opponents didn't just face him on the court, they faced the weight of his legacy, the psychological grind of going up against a guy who seemed to thrive on being unbeatable. But Zverev had clearly decided he wasn't buying the hype. Not today. Not ever. His defiance wasn't just in his game but in every pointed word that left his mouth. Meanwhile, in Djokovic's camp, things were far from calm. Sure, Novak plastered on his trademark Zen master face for the cameras, brushing off the comments with a level of cool that made you wonder if he was part robot. "Alex played a great match," he said in his press conference, his voice as measured as a surgeon's scalpel. "He deserved the win. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I focus on my game. That's all that matters." But behind the scenes, it was a whole different story. According to insiders, Novak wasn't just nursing a bruised ego from the loss. No, he was fuming because Zverev's comments cut deeper. They weren't just a jab at his game, they were a swipe at his very legacy. Novak feels like all he's done for the sport is being overlooked, mocked, even, one source spilled. "This isn't just tennis anymore. It's personal." And personal it got. As the internet caught wind of Zverev's comments, Djokovic's fanbase exploded in a frenzy of defense. Memes, hashtags, and fiery takes flooded social media, painting Zverev as everything from a cocky upstart to a disrespectful little brat who didn't know his place. Hashtag Respect Novak started trending faster than you could say double fault, and his die-hard fans rallied like an army preparing for war. Zverev, ever the provocateur, didn't shy away from the chaos. Hell, he seemed to thrive on it. When fans caught him outside the players' lounge, he grinned like a villain straight out of a superhero movie. "Guess I'm the bad guy now," he joked, shrugging like it didn't bother him one bit. But every good story needs one, right? And that was Zverev's genius, or madness, depending on who you asked. A veteran tennis journalist summed it up best: he knows exactly what he's doing. This isn't just a young player mouthing off. This is calculated. Even among players, the reactions were a mixed bag. Some, speaking anonymously, admitted they admired his audacity. "Honestly, it's refreshing," one top 20 player said. "We've all thought it at some point. Novak's dominance can feel suffocating, but saying it out loud? That takes balls." Others, however, weren't so forgiving. A doubles specialist, who'd been on the tour for over a decade, criticized Zverev's approach. "There's a level of respect you're supposed to have for the guys who paved the way," he said. "He's crossed a line. Confidence is one thing, but arrogance? That's another." Back in the press room, journalists were working overtime to churn out headlines. "Is this the start of tennis's next great rivalry?" one declared. Another went straight for the drama. "Zverev to Djokovic. The throne isn't just yours." As the debates raged, one question loomed larger than the rest. Was Zverev's bravado genuine, or was it all part of a master plan? Those who knew him best offered mixed takes. "He's always been competitive," a former coach said. "He's wanted to be the guy to change the game for as long as I've known him. But he's also smart. He knows how the media works. He's playing the long game here." Others suggested a more personal angle. "There's history there," one tennis insider hinted. This isn't just about tonight. This has been building for a while. Indeed, the relationship between Zverev and Djokovic had always been complicated. On the surface, there was mutual respect and admiration, but underneath, there was a simmering tension. Novak's air of authority, his unshakable confidence, never sat well with Zverev, a guy who prided himself on carving his own path. For Zverev, this win wasn't just about proving he could hang with the best. It was about dismantling the hierarchy, showing he wasn't content to play second fiddle to anyone. As the night turned into the early hours of the morning, Zverev finally retreated to his hotel room, alone with his thoughts. He replayed the night's events, the match, the press conference, the fallout. In the quiet solitude, he allowed himself a rare moment of introspection. Beneath the bravado and the public persona, he understood the weight of his words, the ripples they'd caused. But regret? Not a chance. This was the path he'd chosen, and he was ready to face whatever came next. Because for Zverev, this wasn't just about tennis. It was about rewriting the story, tearing down the old script, and making damn sure the new one had his name all over it.